Hey, BassGeek here, and today I'm going to talk to you about an insert swim bait rig that'll catch them when nothing else will. All right, geeks, that's right. We are going to talk about today a swim bait rig that not a lot of people use. So you're going to be able to show the bass out on these ledges late into the summer and fall, something extremely different. I call it jigging a swim bait. Now, this setup is completely different than a lot of things you've seen. You're not going to swim it. You can swim it, but it's really made for those bass when they get stuck down on the bottom and they're sick of seeing crankbaits and they're sick of seeing swim baits, but you're presenting this swim bait just a little bit different. But very first thing, I want to show you my favorite bait to use with this and how to rig it. All right, guys, number one, my favorite hollow body, and it has to be a hollow body, not a hollow belly, has to be a hollow body to use as my Shadowlicious. Now, generally, if I'm in clear water, this is the one I'm going to use, but they make a lot of different colors. Again, links will be in the description. Make sure you go check those out. It does help the channel out, and it doesn't cost you a dime. And these are the hooks. Two companies make these type of hooks. Strike King makes one. These are by Ledgehead. That 3/4 ounce tends to be my favorite size. Now, let me show you how to rig them. By the way, guys, man, make sure you check out the Z-Rust Max boxes or just the Z-Rust boxes. I tell people all the time, other companies have come out and copied it, but Flambeau is the original. They came out with it, worked with, I believe they said the U.S. Navy. Gonna have one of their reps on one night on the live stream so they can tell us the story. It's a pretty cool story, but it's actually designed by the military, the Z-Rust, anti-rust stuff, and picked up by Flambeau. They were the first to do it. They're the company I've trusted forever. Make sure you go check them out. I am going to do a video talking about the different types of swim baits, when and how I use them. Like I said, I'm not a big, hard swim bait guru, but if there's one thing I know, it's these, man. It's the any size soft swim bait. I have got a system down to it, and it's absolutely my most confident bait. And I'm pretty confident with a lot of different baits. Now, let's talk about what is the difference between a hollow body. This thing is completely hollow. Literally, I could blow in that and it'd blow up like a balloon. I don't have that kind of lung capacity. Hollow bellies generally are completely solid in the head and just have a slit right here. And so you can't really use anything but these. And I'll give you some examples other than the Shadowlicious, again, which is my favorite. Smash Tech makes some pretty good ones. The old BassGeek, they make some. I think Zoom is no longer making their hollow bodies, but that is kind of the example of what's out there. Now, here's the one thing I'm going to show you when it comes to these hooks, and this is why this is such a cool little technique. So the big thing about these hooks, number one, you want to make sure that you size them up, and that hook eye is going to come out about right there. So what you want to do is you want to mark right here where that hook is going to come out. And generally what I do is I just poke a little hole in it, right? The next thing I do is I get the old trusty cobalt blade out. Being an IT guy, I don't really have much use for an actual knife, so and I go ahead and I just make the ever so slightest cut in the back. Now, I do moisten this. If you use any kind of scent, like you guys know, I love to use Smelly Jelly, the XXX shad. And you notice what I did there. I always put the hook eye in first. And you can actually dip it on this, get it real nice and juicy. And what's great about this is you're actually going to see this sliding forward. And once it gets all the way to the front right there, you're just going to force that out. Now, you can take a little bit, you know, notice how straight we've got it. That's a big key. I always want to get it straight, and sometimes it might take you a little practice. But this nose is the key to jigging this swim bait. Now, this is a 5-inch, 5.5, so 6-inch basically. And you can actually take a little bit of mend it and mend up that hole right there, but I'm just going to be honest with you, it really doesn't matter. And generally, with the way the hook is working, it doesn't hold very well. Now, you don't swim this like a traditional swim bait, and when you fish this, you want to make sure, well, I mean, you want to make sure they're close to the bottom. I like to fish this when they're on the bottom, and that's what we found this evening so far with our graph. Now, what I like about this is that what ends up happening is that you throw this thing out and it actually sits like this, and as you're pulling it, it will roll up and it'll kind of hop along the bottom in that rock, and it'll look like a shad feeding. Now, every once in a while, once you stop it, you'll just give it a few hops up, let it swim back down, and then drag it on bottom again. So a little toot, 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 just like a jig. That's what makes this extremely different than a normal swim bait. Let me show you how I fish it. So let's talk about rod, reel, and line setup for this. This is basically my casting jig rod. So if I'm throwing a football head, or if I'm throwing you know, just like an arky head jig, I'm just going down the bank casting, that's this rod and reel. Same exact setup. This is an Akuma Psycho stick. It's a 7'5" heavy fast action. So this is a Helios SX reel by Akuma also. It is an 8-1-1, and as always, guys, I've got that 15 to 17. You can even use 20 if you're in, you know, maybe some dirtier water, but I fish a lot of clear water. So I'm using 15-pound test, Pro 100 K9. There is a big discount, guys. I'm telling you, this is great line, premium, super awesome line. You need to go check it out. But that is my rod, reel, and line setup. So the very first thing you do is you let this cast out there. Now, I like a long rod. You got to get past the school. That's a big key when I talk to you about ledge fishing. Get it past the school, and you watch it and it feeds. Now, I see that the line has stopped, you know, falling or being pulled down. So I'm just going to reel down, get my rod tip, just like a jig. Get my rod tip at about a 9 o'clock straight out, and then I'm just going to pop it. I feel it popping. I feel it popping. I'm going to reel back down to it. I'm going to drag it a little bit more. Reel back down, dragging it a little bit more right here. I'm just going to give it a few pops, and I'm going to follow it down, because a lot of times on the drop is when they'll hit it. So again, I'm going to drag it just a little, and I'm going to swim it up. And then I'm just going to follow that bait back down. I want to make sure when I'm following it down, it's on taut line, not tight, which means just a little bow in it. And I'm watching that line to make sure they don't hit it. Dragging it, feeling that bottom, feeling it come across. And then when I bring it up, I want to make sure that I'm just reeling it, and I give it a stop and go every once in a while. And that's really it. to fishing this bait. You're really dragging it on bottom, having it come up. All the weight is in the head, and you're putting it out there as a feeding shad in front of a bunch of fish that don't see that presentation. This bait, this head, finished third in a Bassmaster Open about 2 or 3 years back. And trust me, people still aren't using it. Hey guys, there's Jeremy. He is jigging a swim bait down a ledge right now to some bass we've got found on the old Garmin up there. But guys, you really should give this technique a try, especially when those bass out on those ledges get stubborn and they hunker down to the bottom. I'm telling you, this may get you the big bites that you need to cash a few checks in your local tournaments. Now, all that being said, guys, the best way to support the channel is make sure you watch the videos, watch 100% of the videos. Hitting that like button is great, and leaving a comment is great. It helps too, but watching is really the best way to support the channel. We put out videos every Sunday and Wednesday, so make sure you tune in, and we sprinkle in some shorts in between there. Now, like we always say, questions and comments in the comment section below. Guys, I love to talk fishing with you. I appreciate everything you do for me, so I try to answer each and every single comment. We're a little behind on the BassGeek boxes, but man, you guys seem to be loving those. So we'll probably do August and September in September, but that means 2 winners, right? Okay. Now, all that being said, like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell so you get the notifications when these videos come out. And as always, you guys rock.